My name is Michelle Ella Powell, and I am a second generation psychic healer in Florida. And I've posted a bunch of videos about Divine Union on TikTok and a couple on Instagram. And I have some really dynamic, detailed, channeled messages that have come through about different collectives that are coming together in Divine Union partnership. This is not talking about internal, it's talking about like in the world for new earth leaders, for people with blueprints, and people who really feel called to participate into the global unity, love, change, the shifting that is going to happen no matter what. You have people who are in the camp of fear, right? They want to fight it, they want control, power, all this other shit. You have a lot of people, though, who have awakened to this love, awakened to this absurdity that is our existence, and who have moved into this space of choosing something differently, healing, and and so I'm going to talk a little bit about some Divine Union channeled messages that are coming through. So I have 4 groups of, like, they're like couples, but they're energetic blueprints, and they can be friendships too, and they can be business partnerships, but there's a lot of relationship in here too. But these 4 groups, I've already talked a lot about group 1 on TikTok, so I'm actually going to start backwards. So I'm actually going to start with group 4. Group 4 of this Divine Union is it's you've got a divine feminine collective and you've got a divine masculine collective, and this very much feels like builders, like a new type of follower, like not follower bad, not like NPC, but like people who are excited to be a part of something greater than themselves, people who are excited to be like the boots on the ground, feet on the ground. A lot of, because when you're building anything significant, right? You have to like pass out assignments. You're like, you got to do this part, you do this part. It's a team effort, people. This is very much like worker bee hive mind souls who are excited. Like they're excited to contribute. Like these are really beautiful humans. Okay. So these souls are very water, fire, earth energy. The divine feminine in this group feels more water, earth, almost feels a little bit more like stable. The feminine, not, I mean, they're all stable, but more like grounded. The masculine feels very passionate, maybe a little intense, very fire energy. They are joyful to be a part of something greater. They are stable but excited. And so I pulled cards on from my Starseed deck specifically for each of these groups. 1 second. Okay. So in terms of the 4 groups that I'm starting with here, this is group 4 that feels like the youngest of either souls in general or the youngest of, like, in terms of awakening or expanded awareness. Very much like their remembrance feels newer, which is part of why it's a lot of excitement. So part of their purpose was to come here and awaken to this. So a lot of these people don't feel like they don't resonate like a lot of the big gods and goddesses. They don't resonate like people who have necessarily built before. They feel very fresh. Does that make sense? Okay. So their gift kind of to the world is their specific plan, which is being implemented here in this lifetime. That they have, a lot of these people are generational curse breakers for their lineage, in terms of they have chosen to live differently than those who came before. They've chosen to heal. They've chosen to lean into the growth, lean into the expansion of consciousness, and to really move out of just like a fated life where you're going right now versus like my highest, best life ever destiny, like co-creating with the universe. In terms of life lesson, a lot of these souls, some of them have a lot of up and up, like they're ready, or they think they're ready, they want to do things, and it's almost like they're not called up to bat yet. So a lot of these people are still in healing stages, and these dynamic energetics, like the divine feminine, the divine masculine, some of these feel very karmic and feel like people who are still actively undoing trauma, still kind of undoing beliefs, like they might still have some like toxicity in them, and it's almost like they're still processing that, they're still learning from those lessons, they're still moving out of it, but there's a lot of momentum behind them. But I think a lot of things with awakening happens in stages on purpose, because, well, I mean, it's just how it goes, right? You have to have visionaries, you have to have a lot of different things happening, especially when you're in terms of 8 billion people and globalization. There's reasoning behind everything. So this life lesson these souls are in, a lot of them right now, is realizing that you kind of have to wait your turn. Going back and focusing on the healing part, because trust me, the healing cannot be negated. Like, that is so important. Now, you can't live there and be like, I'm healing for the next 25 years. Well, no, everything is seasonal. But this group 4 does feel very karmic. It feels like a lot of these connections, of all the 4 groups, this group has the most people that are already partnered and that are actually evolving together. Some people will split and then find almost like a new person, but this particular group feels like people who literally were born to awaken this lifetime, to heal and change this lifetime, and to actually evolve with their partner. So almost like turning a karmic lesson into like, oh, hey, we understand the mirror. We understand, let's do this together. And like, so they don't necessarily have to like break up and go find new people. They're very much willing to evolve together, and they're much more balanced in that sense, where you have a lot of people who one person went like this or whatever, and the other person like didn't change. And it's like the gap between the energetics became too much. And so you have a lot of partnerships that did have to erupt because of that. So life lesson right now for group 4 is waiting, bringing it back into the healing, the internal balancing, and the obstacle coming up right now is very, of all the 4 groups, it's interesting, I did think doing this backwards, of all the 4 groups, this one is the most, you are actively reprogramming your belief system. So you are still breaking apart all of the old things that no longer serve you, that no longer make sense. You are stripping heaviness, control, restrictions, ego, pride, everything that's kind of unbalanced. I want to encourage you, if any of this has resonated, especially for the masculines, find healthy, happy, or like appropriate, like, don't try to do it all by yourself. Go to therapy. All of the women would be so happy if people just went to therapy faster. I know women need it too. I'm just saying. Everybody should go and be proactive about your healing and paying attention to how you think, how you feel, and how all of it works together. It's not going to happen on itself magically. And why do it by yourself, like fighting everything, when you can ask for help? You do not get bonus points for taking the hard road. So don't be stubborn. Find help. And if you're in a couple like this, love one another. Give grace, give compassion, give great understanding that the world is shifting. People are waking up to all sorts of things, all sorts of remembrances. And so have great compassion for your loved ones around you. Hold your boundaries, yes, but do not do it from a place of meanness. Do it from a place of honoring yourself and then honoring your fellow peoples as well. So that's group 4. Give yourself permission to change your mind. Give yourself permission to say, the things I believe today are very different than I did 5-10 years ago. The things I believe tomorrow are going to be different, and the things I believe next year are going to be different. Give yourself permission to let go of old religious tendencies, or at least to expand your spiritual beliefs, expand the way you see things, and understanding the terminology around energy, and understanding that consciousness, energy, this is God. Everything is all very, very connected. And so sometimes if you give yourself permission to redefine your language, it will help you understand. And it will help you integrate the lessons that you are learning. Yeah. Okay. So that's group 4. So, and group 4, agate, hematite. These are crystal gems, whatever go. agate and hematite, multiple types of agate, but like that was like kind of came up for a group 4. So group three for divine unions. This one's fun. Well, they're all interesting, right? But this feels like secret weapons. These feel like human cheat codes from the divine, like the undercover agent. Very new. The things that they are bringing, they are so DNA driven, and their DNA is pulling them to very, very specific connections to birth very specific plans. They are activators. They're very mutable and fluid. Yeah. Specific DNA patterns seeking each other to birth new ideas linked to the new Earth blueprints. Plans for global unity by love and peace, not by control and power. We're not operating out of that. If that's, you want to just go do it with that, that's not what this is about. That's not our team. Many are coded in group 3 with very, very powerful abundance codes. And you have activation gifts where like you can, group 3 kind of works with all the other groups, and almost like they come in, they bring, they trigger a remembrance, they trigger a healing, they activate a spiritual gift, something like that. And like, then they go back and they're somewhere else. They're almost like hiding secret agents, and then they like work very strategically with spirit. Disguised, hiding in plain sight, awake, very focused. They understand what they're doing. They have this kind of sense of they've done this before. Very water, air kind of energy. And so when I pulled cards for group 3, so again, speaking to a cluster of divine feminines and a cluster of divine masculines. So let me do this real quick. The divine feminine for the group 3 feels young at heart, young at spirit, very much adventure seekers. They both, the divine feminine and masculine, are, but it's giving skydiving. So the divine feminine for group 3, adventurous, capable, underestimated. Communication being a big part of your life plan, whether you're a writer, whether you are a speaker, whether you just activate people with your words, the way that you encode your speech and your writing is very, very powerful. You run with a lot of authority energetically. So like lower vibrational energies, they're not going to mess with you. They're like, oh, she said go, we're leaving. It's great. It's very cool. The divine masculine for group 3 feels like brute but soft. They too, they see the world and it pisses them off. But they understand this divine masculine in group 3 has very strong understanding. They almost feel like they hold lineage gifts of complex, dynamic, energetic awareness and understanding. So yeah, they look at the world and like they have big feeling. They're mad. They're not, well, yeah, they're mad too. They're angry. They don't like all of the hostility, but they understand why. They understand what. They understand their part, and they're very responsive to the things that they feel called towards, because they too are activators. They too are ending up in meetings with people specifically so they can be the catalyst to help everybody see on the same page. They have a gift with transmutation and alchemy in group settings. This is the masculine. It's so interesting. The deeper I get into these channels, the more information that's available. So divine union group 3, these couples feel like some of these people are partnered, but if you don't feel cohesive with your partner, this is not the person you're meant to move into the next stage of life with. It's very important that we all recognize the difference between like an unhealthy, codependent, toxic soul tie or karmic whatever versus something that is for your future, not your past. So, but for group 3, some of you may actually be together, maybe evolving together, some of you actually may feel very deeply like, I know I'm a secret weapon. My spouse or significant other, they know. We both know that we are here to do something big. So, but a lot of you will also be meeting these people. Thinking it's 2 years, but it's almost like I see waves of connection. So like I see a bunch of people connecting in like 6 to 9 months or a year, and then I see like another wave like a year after that. So it's almost like there's like, as energies move and people move, there's like specific connections that come up at certain times to bring certain people together. Does that make sense? I'm sure it makes sense. Okay. Oh, look, somebody's building something right outside my house. So now I hear a saw. Or cool. Okay. Let me pause this.